How you doing, everybody? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to We'd Been There for another episode 8, which is Preparing for Flower, Part 2. I am Eric from Uncle Rick's Genetics. This is Matt, parts unknown.
I'm just a dude.
Just a guy. I gotta put my thing up.
Just a dude.
Wait a second.
How are you always leaving as soon as we start the live?
I'm not leaving. I had to put my thing out, you know?
Oh, you put your
We have no producers. We produce and do everything ourselves. Literally everything's us. So, you know, we
hair and makeup. I don't know what you got over there, but
gonna actually move this streaming live thing in front of Matt's face so he shuts up. I'm just kidding. I did move it. Welcome tonight. If you are following us on Facebook, make sure you follow us on YouTube. And if you're following us on YouTube but you don't follow us on Facebook, follow us on our Facebook page, and we actually go into detail about more things. And we have our own subscriber hub where we have a Growmunity, which is for people. Matt just disappears. It's for people to learn, whether they're beginners or not, and really be able to help one another, and we can have the Growmunity grow even further. So, without further ado, I actually came prepared tonight, and I'm going to start the night off with a dab with you, Matt. How about that? You didn't expect me to start out a dab with you, did you? You didn't expect that one. I'm sure of it.
I haven't been really dabbing much lately. This is my first dab in a while. A little baby dab.
You dabbed literally the beginning of this episode last week, bro. What are you talking
about? Yeah, no, I don't think I did. I was sick.
Oh, okay, the week before you did that.
Yeah. It's been a minute. I feel like that was
a minute.
So maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe I should do another dab. I don't fucking know. I don't want
you know, Matt. We'll wait. We'll wait. No, do another dab. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking do another dab.
Yeah, please do, because you know, I'd appreciate it.
I like when the collector starts two-stepping.
What now?
You need to fix your microphone, dude.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? Is that better?
I like when my nectar collector starts two-stepping.
Yeah, leaking is good. I like it. You gotta just turn it up. You know you're getting good stuff back out of it.
What are your microphone settings on right now?
Good question.
Maybe you need to move it a little bit closer.
No, sometimes I have to unplug it and plug it. Is that better?
Much better.
Yeah, sometimes it just has to be unplugged and replugged back in. I don't fully understand. I'm gonna replace it soon enough here. But so tonight we are talking about prepping for flower. We did that last week, but we're going to continue on talking about that in our part 2, because we covered basically photoperiods and a little bit of autos. Well, we just touched on some stuff, but we're going to really go back over that again. Because of the fact that I feel like people don't really get into looking at reg seeds at all, and I feel like they don't do that because they don't want to sex a plant, or they think they're going to have males, or they don't want to have pollinations, or blah 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 blah. The list goes on. And I think last week we really wanted to put some of that to bed, but we didn't even touch on it. So
yeah, I mean, people want smokable product. We get it.
Of course, but it doesn't mean that a reg is not smokable. Many people would argue that a reg seed female is way stronger than a feminized female could ever be of the same strain. So, there's definitely some pushback on that. But, so, what are you doing when you're preparing for flower and you have a reg seed. The number one thing you're doing is you're going to defoliate just like everything else. That was pretty standard. Last week, we talked about getting your first defoliation. If you're going to be doing a transplant, that's the perfect time to do it. But now we're in a reg, right? So your transplant could be done when you go to flip it, but there's a point somewhere in veg that you should establish that you feel is not a waste of your time. It's the perfect time to kind of cut your losses. So you could go 3 weeks into veg and flip your plant, and this is called sexing your plant. And you would do this so that you can weed out, no pun intended, the males from the females, and then you can put them back into veg until you're ready to flip them. So everything for a photo period kind of stays the same when you're going to do your flip and you're going to transplant, except this stage, which would be, trying to seek out the signs of a male while they're small, within a foot tall. And that takes time to be able to do that anyway. But, there are characteristics of males that are kind of blatant and universal. And these are the things that, within a month, that plant's going to be about a foot tall. So you should be either sexing them at this point, and separating them. And if you're going to breed with them, do what you do. But if you're collecting pollen, whatever. But this is where you want to do that. And then it's going to take you a little bit of time for them to come back out of that and go back into vegging. And, I think that's something that just scares people for some reason when, plants accidentally go into flower all the time from like the shade, and then, they re-veg and then they go back into flower. And like that totally sucks. But when you're dealing with something outside, that totally sucks. But like it does happen, and it's not impossible. It's kind of the plant's, it's what the plant does. It's how monster cropping is.
I mean, just to add on to what Eric said, so like the 3 week period too, like that's 3 weeks in vegetative, if you're going that route. A lot of people, like, one of the common things I see is people asking, hey, is this a male or female? And the plant is like 3 inches tall, so like you're gonna germinate that seed, you're gonna get it through its sprout phase, you're gonna get it through its seedling phase, and then like week 1 is vegetative growth. Some people count when it pops up, but 3 weeks into vegetative state, like Eric said, you should have a solid 12-inch plant. You should have your initial shoots are growing out. You should have a fairly, decent size 3 week veg plant. And Eric's right. You can switch the light cycle temporarily with those hormones to go and it show you what it's going to be. Or you can do it naturally. Like I usually keep them in smaller containers, and I'll let them naturally show sex. Males typically tend to show a little bit earlier than females, in my opinion. Um, yeah, continue on here with whatever you were going with. Sorry.
You're good, dude. No, Matt, you're totally right. It's just like you could do it at whatever time you want. I've seen people start regs in 12-12, and just wait. And, they're really only a little more than 2 or 3 weeks in, and some of them can show signs. But like, also some strains like don't really, and this is the part that I don't like people doing. Some strains, well, most strains will show their sex at 8 weeks. You could pretty much tell what's gonna be there in flower. And people will grow a plant in all the way up to a 5-gallon and be like, all right, ready to flip it. And they never sexed it.
Yeah.
And they were waiting for that 8-week mark, and it's not really determinable still. And then they flip it, and then they're dealing with, a male. Which isn't really, like, again, it's not a bad thing, but it's not the aim on the target, We're not looking to shoot the bottom rim of the the dartboard. We're trying to hit a bullseye, you know, the absolute opposite spectrum of what you're looking for.
Absolutely. And it all depends on what you want to do. Like, what if you have a plan? If you get a male, like, because you have to plan that. You have to, because I see a lot of people sometimes like they'll pop two plants, like two seeds out of
Regular.
a 12 pack or a 10 pack, and you know end up with two males, and now they have like completely wasted 2 months of their time. Um, so like you have to pop quite a few. I minimum four,
I would say
but
you
average
you plant
you
double
should
what you want.
5 or 6.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd say double.
Because out of those four, you might have one female, three males. You might have three females and one male. You don't know what you're gonna get. It's like literally reaching your hand into a bag and hoping for the best.
Of course. And the great thing about it is like if you had big plans for 4 plants, you put 4 seeds down and then you end up with 3 males and you're left with 1 female, you just unlock so much real estate. And like realistically you could take a lot of the soil that's still loose from those other plants, dump that all into one big pot, transplant the thing and just let it fly in your space and try to make up for it. But opening up real estate's not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal when you get used to cutting your losses. I know it sucks for a lot of people. They don't really want to, they never want to cut something down. If you're that person, that's fine. Like Matt said, you can't just go and be like, yeah, I'm just going to keep this male and let it go and do this and that. Like, if you're not prepared for that, you're absolutely going to screw yourself up somewhere. Like, unless you could isolate it totally somewhere else, you're probably going to have cross pollination that you're not intending to have. You're
Yeah, but I
probably
mean,
going to
you still
not
don't
take
have
the
a plan
practices.
for it. So like,
Right.
even if you move it, you still don't have a plan for it. So it's just gonna sit there.
I know, but if you're not
Yeah.
experienced in that and you're like, touching one plant, go touch another plant, you're the pollinator. You're like a little bee that's 6 foot tall, with no wings, just buzzing around, pollinating your own shit. That's not really great.
Even just walking from one room to another. If you have an inline duct fan that's like putting air inside your tent, and you get pollen on you on your clothes, and then like you walk into your other room and like maybe brush upon something and knock that pollen that's on your shirt loose, and
Right.
that fan is just strong enough, just sucking just enough air in to suck up some of those pollen molecules and distribute them into your tent onto your plant. I mean, maybe you're not going to end up with you
A
know
bunch.
5,000 seeds, but
Right.
shit, you might get 100. You know,
I've seen weirder stuff happen. I've seen people have, you know, I've seen people have no problems, no issues in their grow for like months. And then they're in flower and they can't stand to be outside of the tent, not looking at it, doing something else. So they're just constantly like, addictively running over to their tent and they go and weed whack the yard, come in, go look at their plants. Like the worst possible thing you could do is go mess around with anything outdoors and then come inside or go directly to your grow and then bring it all there. It's like, hey, I just destroyed your home weeding. Just hitchhike on me. I'm a gigantic being. You're just going to be a speck on me. I'm not even going to notice. And then when I see this massive jungle you bring me to isolated inside, that I'm just going to jump off of you and live in utopia. And then you're like, I don't know how the hell I got all these bugs or this pest or that mold, and it's really attributable to, not paying attention to those environmental variables, like, coming in from even from work. I remember one time, Matt, we were on the phone. Remember, you were like, "Dude, I'm smoking a cigarette. And there's a fucking aphid standing in my beard." I'm like, "What?" And you're
I
like,
was
"Yeah,
just gonna say that, dude. I was just thinking about that.
yeah."
I was about to tell that story, as soon as you were done.
Sorry, I've ruined it.
No, you're cool, dude.
Let's rewind. What was that? Was it in your beard?
Yeah. So I was outside. I was at work, and like towards the end of the day, Eric happened to call me, and like we were bullshitting about something. I was smoking a cigarette outside my back door. I just happened to like glance down, and like right here in my beard, this big old lime green fucking aphid chilling on my beard. I'm like, bro, I'm like, what if that like would have got caught deeper, or like was just fuck on me for my 10-minute car ride home.
Mm?
Because like one of the things that I normally do is like I come home and like checking my plants is one of the first things on my list.
Boom.
You know, if I didn't catch that, normally like when I get home, I shower first before I do anything. That's has nothing to do with my plants. That's just like I don't want to be like in my bed or anything like after being at work and shit all day, all fucking crusty. Um, so, but like if I didn't catch that, like that could have been detrimental to, and
Right.
like I never have bugs. That's like one thing I pride myself on. Like you'll never find a fucking now. Maybe in the very beginning, yeah, I had fungus gnats and shit. But now that I know what I'm doing, like, I haven't had a bug in my grow in like over 3 years.
That's awesome.
Like not one single fucking. I don't even see a fungus gnat, dude. They don't even live here no more.
They don't
Um,
live here anymore. That's good, dude, because
I know.
like
I evicted their asses, and they're fucking. They're take a hike, bud. Get out of here. Tell your friends not to come back.
one big thing is,
And so far,
having no pests.
you know, yeah, no pest is good. We can do that as an episode too. One of these days.
For sure.
How to mitigate that shit. That's important. Yeah, I'm a little baked, guys. So anyway,
Did you take 2 dabs? You took an extra dab, didn't
I took like 2 baby dabs. I was already stoned. I smoked a blunt before I called you.
you?
So I just indulged in the dabs. It's been a while. It's been like 2 weeks. Maybe it's hitting a little bit different. Crazy.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna take an extra one here in a second. I don't know why, but
Yes, well, let's do
I'm
shit.
trying to alert our um, Facebook members who usually jump over here and are
Oh yeah.
in the chat, and I
Nice.
feel like I didn't. I don't know. I feel like nobody's seen it,
People
or
out there in the world. People
if
out
they
there
are,
doing
that's
shit.
great. But I don't want to. Like I
Absolutely.
had a dude tell me, like, dude, make sure you tag me, and I was like, okay. So I am tagging all these people really fast.
You know,
There we go.
while Eric's doing that, you know, kind of get back on topic here. Um, so yeah, you definitely need to know like what your plan is for growing ranks. And there's like autoflowers too. Like we'll step into that realm, you know, real quick because there are autoflower rigs, you know. So same kind of process, a little bit more sped up,
Oh god, and
and
you have
you
no
really have to
control.
know. You really have to know like what you're doing. Like really, really, really have to know what you're doing with auto
I mean,
rigs.
I would just say you have to be able to have attention to detail, dude. I mean, it's not this. It's no different.
No, like they don't really grow, but you like attention to detail equals time, lots of time. You know, like
Right.
you're gonna be putting a lot more time into these plants specifically.
Right.
Because you
Agreed.
don't know what to do. You're gonna be training all of them. You don't know what they're gonna turn out to be, and you don't have to worry about flipping shit. You know, so you might have like a really gigantic plant that's taking a little bit longer, and then you got like 2 other females in the tent and 2 males that you're planning on taking out, but you have one that's like double the size and refuses to show any signs because it's not there yet. Um,
Right.
you know, it's gonna be you're gonna be like constantly in your tent all the time, like looking for that first fucking nut sack to pop because you don't want it to ruin your other ones.
Right. And the crazy part with autos is you could have some short males that totally don't look like a male and look like the rest of the ones you think might be flower, and then it's all pollen. And you do have to keep a close eye because they are growing fast, and if they're males, they're going to be growing fast. They're going to be trying to outcompete the other ones. And these plants can see each other. The male typically grows larger than the female, so it can pollen pollinate from over top, and the pollen can drop down. That's why these plants are naturally
And
bigger.
let me tell you something too, like because I've done the victim of my own advice here. Um, you have to be very meticulous when you're dealing with possible males because you can look at that plant and not see anything. Like you're just like standing, looking at it. You're like, no, I don't see it. You might even get a little bit close. No, I don't see nothing. We're good. But on the back of that plant, like 12 inches below the canopy, there's a big old nutsack growing that you can't see. And it's
Right.
like a day away from exploding. It happens. So, like, you have to be super meticulous in how you check these plants. You have to constantly keep an eye on them. Because it
Right.
does. It happens overnight. You'll see a little speckle and you'll be like, I don't know. I don't know if that's, a Kylax forming or is that a nutsack? And then the next
The
day it's
seed.
like,
Yeah.
yep, there I am, but whole banana, like
And then you got
it's like where the fuck did
seeds
that
before
come
you
from?
know it. You know,
Yeah.
and everybody's got real good circulation nowadays. Got all the
So like
clip
if you
fans in the
plan on
world.
like skipping a day and you're like, I'm kind of tired, I'll check it tomorrow or the day after that. Yeah. And then you come in and you see like, why is this white powdery stuff on my fan leaves? And you're like, oh, well that's why. Because there's a pollen sac under there.
Right. I saw someone they posted a picture and they posted a picture and they were like, "What is this growing on my leaf?" And it was pollen. And I was like, "That's not growing. That
Yeah.
that either hermed or you have a male, like obviously." But what you call? Yeah, I don't see many people buying auto regs. I do have a few people that buy auto regs, and they buy them for the same reason I said in the beginning. Some, not some, but females that are females that are regular versus females that are feminized. Jesus, I can't even talk. Maybe I do need another jab.
It's okay.
They're
You're gonna
stronger,
be all right there.
and that's because they're naturally like that versus being, forced to be feminized.
Well, I brought up auto regs because
Of course.
I love cannabis groups on Facebook and stuff, and I'm all for it. But you see, like some of these giveaways that a lot of people do, like that's the type of stuff that they give away to their
Really?
group members. Auto regs and regular beans. Not. I mean, there's a lot of femmes and stuff, but like they're in the mix. So
Photo reg
if you
isn't
happen to
bad
be new
though.
to growing, if you happen to be new to growing and you're in these groups and you're in these giveaways so that you can try to get something to grow, and you just happen to have these land in your lap, like regulars, because you will, or auto regs and stuff like that. I feel like our community needs kind of information on at least.
I want to do like an auto. I want to do a reg photo grow off. I think that'd be really cool. Give everybody time to sex them and all that jazz. And
Yeah, I mean we've done them before.
the cool thing about doing a reg seed though is since you're going to be going back and forth between, you actually could let them go a little further and do a little tiny bit of a pheno hunt. If you do pop like 5 regs and you get 4 or 5 of them that are females, and you're lucky like that, and you see they're all flowering, you can actually let them go a couple weeks. And after a couple weeks, you can select what you think is the best of them and has the profiles that you want and the characteristics that you'd like. And then you can actually mark it when you go back into veg. After that comes out of re-veg and it starts growing again, you can then clone it knowing what it's going to be end result. So that's the other upside to doing regs, because you're taking that period already. So another 2 weeks to know what you're going to get, know what it's a little bit going to at least start to look like. You could take it all the way like to week 4 and then flip it back. It's just going to take a month, to start re-vegging, and you know, becoming a plant again. But this is how people establish mothers. You know, they're like, I love that,
Yeah. I
so
mean,
re-veg it.
Even if you end up with 4 females, if you're that lucky, you're gonna have fun with them. Like you can grow each one of them differently. You can do things because, like, some plants like, you know, to being trained. Other plants don't. Other plants can kind of figure it out themselves. See how these plants respond to what. So like you can kind of like tweak every one and grow it a little bit differently and see how they respond to that and what the plants do. And then you can kind of get a feel for, what you really need to do with your one plant that you're going to be, essentially submitting towards the end.
Right. The re-veg aspect will scare a lot of people out of doing regs. But it's really not that big a deal, to be honest. I think more people would, if they grew a reg out, they would do it again. Like,
And here's the thing too, like even if you have one female, like what Eric's talking about, and we'll touch on this subject later on. It's a little bit more towards the, I would say, medium to advanced methods. Like if you pop 6 regs and you end up with just one female and 5 males, and you gotta scrap them all. Like what Eric said is like you can take clones, and you can have, like, if you have space for 6 plants, you can clone that one female, and then you can just
get your 6 plants
get
back.
your clones, get your clones up to speed, and there's your shit back.
Yeah, and that's the
longer.
That's the beauty with photo femmes as well. If you have like an F1 or an F2, you could do a little bit of hunting with it and clone it, 15 times and get that pheno you like. Just keep it going, and you don't need to have it be a reg. But again, you're not going to do that. You're not going to sex it and then you're not going to flip it and then bring it back anyway with feminized beans, but you're going to do that anyway with regs. So that's what, being able to just go the extra yard and do a little bit of a pheno hunt isn't really a big deal. And you could help to give yourself more of a selection of what you want out of that. Maybe you're looking for a specific phenotype and it's extremely obvious. Then, a couple weeks in, you might be able to tell, or if it's an F3, F4 where there's not many phenotypes, and you can isolate that pretty quickly. That's another way to, do a small pheno hunt. And then who knows? You might be so crazy about that one pheno that if you have 6, you just ditch all the other 5 anyway. You find the one, and you're like, all right, real estate time. Doing 6, these 5 are gone because they're not this one pheno. You clone it, get them all back. Keep that one as a mother. Take 6 clones. That's what a lot of people buy regs for, and a lot of the times they're cheaper. But the convenience of not having to flip it to know its sex, it does come at a small cost. It won't be really as strong as it could be. It's not its full potential.
I mean, feminized seeds are like, going out to eat at a fancy restaurant. Like, you just put it in the dirt. You know what you're getting, for the most part. And that's that.
I know what you're going to say.
Dessert phase, Popping a reg is like going to KFC. It's just like, how's it going to be this time? Like, is it going to be, are they going to fucking forget the biscuits, or, like, what's going to happen?
I was going to say it's like going to a hole-in-the-wall restaurant where it could be a complete trash factory and just ruin everything you got going on, true. Or it could be the best thing you've ever eaten ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess you're right. Like feminizing, you know what you're getting every time, for the most part.
You should. I've seen quite a bit.
It can get boring too. Growing femmes can get boring. Trust me. Like,
it really can.
I wish I had a male, because like I don't know, part of low key, like, deranged side of me. I like fucking plants up sometimes. Like I like chopping them down and killing them.
You're
You
so
know,
weird, dude.
I am. I'm a savage, dude. Like sometimes you do that. You're just like, I'm gonna kill this fucking plant on Tuesday. You know, you schedule it. You fucking make yourself. You know, sometimes it's good to take some aggression out on your plants.
On the other side of that, not taking aggression on your plant, after you
Yeah, be
sex
careful.
your plant, you would just slide right back into the same prep for flower with your transplanting, your making sure you have your amended soil or your you're using your nutrient chart to see what you do next there, and or you're using soilless medium or your hydro, whatever you're going to do, you're going to prepare your pot size and probably throw it under a scrog. Most people are scrogging things now,
So
you
easy.
know. I mean,
It's
I
just
don't
so easy.
I don't see another way to go when you have a square and then a light that fits almost to the end of all the squares, giving you even
Yeah.
coverage. You might as well maximize, what you have going
It's
on there.
just it's just so easy to stretch a plant out that way. I think
That's why I
like
said I
you.
love having the real estate because like you go from having to keep four plants tight and then three of them are males and then you're like, all right, cool. Now I could let this one go and be a complete absolute animal, go wall to wall as big as it can get. And I don't know why people are so worried about vegging over 60 days. I don't know why there's like some like OSHA standard for flipping your plant in 8 weeks.
Yeah, I veg plants for 90 days.
That's some of the best plants I've seen grown indoors is a 90-day veg. And I don't know why people are so worried about it. Like you grow for 60 days and you flip it and you get, 7 or 8 ounces or 10 ounces, right? And then you do the same thing with the same plant for 90 days and you get over a pound.
Yeah,
It's just worth doing it. I don't know why,
absolutely.
I don't know who set the bar at 60 days, but I don't really
Yeah, I don't
understand
know.
it.
I think it's people, and I get it. Like you grow for a purpose. But patience is huge in this game. You got to definitely have patience. You can't just jump at a plant. You can't just hurry up and try to do like you have to have patience. You have to kind of like wait certain things out and see how they play out. How your plant responds. It doesn't always respond the day after or 3 days after. Sometimes it takes a week for that plant to respond. And like in that week, you're getting anxious and you're just throwing all this other shit at it. And your plant's like, yo, dude, like, just give me a second. Let me breathe. Let me get back on my feet here. And you're just like, you're throwing rocks, boulders on top of this thing and just keep knocking it down. So you definitely have to have patience. And if you have all the space in the world, you know, why not utilize it for sure? Because that extra 30 days is going to get you 2 to 3 times more bud, better bud. So it's like have the patience, guys.
I don't know if we talked about this on here, but I talked about this a couple times now through Terp Tuesday and in our Wake and Bake lives. I think I don't know where I talked about this last, but if you're in a pot that is 3 gallons and you just ended veg, or 5 gallons and you just ended veg, the 3 gallon should turn into a 10 gallon before you go into flower. And I know in auto pots you're not going to swap the thing out, obviously, and I'm not talking about autos, but when you're doing a photo, if the plant can get up to 3 times the size, it's because the roots can get up to 3 times as dense, meaning it'll grow 3 times the roots. So again, with this whole unlimited space and using limited amounts of it and essentially wasting your real estate, having the light and wasting the photons, having the pot space, it's not like you can't fit that big of a pot in your tent, and not being able to do it, just not doing those things all at the same time really hinders the maximum potential you can get out of your small space that you started with in the beginning. So, it's not like anybody that has a huge space needs to know what we're saying. This is more people that are growing from home in a tent, and you're not dealing with a big space to begin with. So you should be maximizing every square inch that you have, especially if that means putting the biggest pot you can in your tent. If you're going to grow with a 3 gallon, then go to a 10. If you're going to go with a 5 gallon, you got to go with 15 to flower. You go with 15 to flower, the plant is going to get so much bigger, and you should let it veg for like, I don't know, about a week in that pot under the scrog, as it's all now trimmed and tucked in under the scrog. It should turn upward and grow up through that scrog like maybe an inch or two in veg. It should grow just into the soil in veg, knowing that it's establishing into new soil, and then you should flip this thing, you know. And when we flip it, you're going to have so much more space for those roots to run, and the plant's just going to inherently be able to get bigger and continue its vigorous growth. Sorry, man. I knew we were gonna. I knew we were gonna talk at the same time. I was like, and then talk at the same time. Anyways, you know, it's just really helpful for your plant to uptake water when it has the correct amount of medium. Like when you're talking about a 5 gallon ending in veg, right? So you put it in there probably a month ago. And now a month in, it's basically gotten to the walls of that pot. And you're going to flip it. And this thing's going to get so dense with roots that a single feeding is going to eventually become not enough for it. And either the plant's going to get stunted or it's going to continue to grow like crazy and just be extremely deficient. And I see this happen a lot. And I think it's mostly because people don't go upward in pot size by a large amount, that they just kind of, you know, they just kind of go up in pot size and veg, and then that's kind of it. And they limit their plant and make it harder for the plant to uptake nutrients. And essentially they get these roots choked out in its own medium, and none of the inside inner root ball gets wet unless people are bottom feeding, you know? So it's like, it's all ifs and if this, then that type of deal going through it. But I think a lot of it would be solved if people used bigger pots just off the bat, you know, because it's what the plant's going to do. You can't take away its genetic coding, you know, no matter how many times it's grown inside. It could be grown in a container, but it's going to take up the entire container you give it. So some people I've seen go 3 times the size, and then they're like, dude, I can't believe that it actually rooted that big container I threw it in last, you know, just in flour. And I'm like, yeah, imagine that was all jammed into the 5 gallon. And they're like, I couldn't imagine. I would have had like tons of problems. I'm like, right. So sometimes it makes things easier, you know. You're going to have the same amount of roots in a bigger pot. So you're going to give it more water, but it's not going to be like dumping it through the roots and dumping it through the medium and having a ton of runoff. It's going to evenly disperse through there. The plant's going to be able to pick it up easily. Kind of a no-brainer, you know? But it's just not, it's not looked at like that, you know? And when a plant is outside in the ground, it could root up to 60 feet deep and only be a few feet tall. You know, so you think about that.
Like when I first started growing, I was in like 3 gallons, and like I think the first plant, like I had to literally like cut the fabric pot away because it was solid brick. Like it was like could hurt somebody. You know. Like,
right. You're not getting anything out of that for reusing soil. It's the roots grew around the dirt.
Yeah, it's like locked in there. Like you couldn't get stuff out. Even with the autopots, like how the roots envelop the, you know, hydrogen clay pebbles, you know, like it just wraps themselves around their shit, you know.
I've had with the Airtable, I've had no roots go through anything. They just stay right on top of the Airtable. That's basically it. It's kind of cool, but like there's these little indentations in the Airtable that go straight down, and you're supposed to put like 1 clay pellet in there so the roots can't actually get into the bottom. And I put a couple in there. I fill it to the top, and the roots will grab onto the little clay pellets. So when if I take it out, it'll have like these long strings on the end with like 4 or 5 clay pellets just hanging off the end of like a few little exploratory roots, and then the rest is just one solid Brillo pad whatever shape the pot used to be. If it said like made in China on it, it would say it on the roots. Like it's like taking a mold, of the pot that it's in. And, that's why in auto pots, you should be going from like a 2 gallon if you got six, and you should flip it like right after that. And the roots are going to be able to go freaking crazy in there because of the water uptake, the nutrient uptake system it's already got, plus the amount of space it has. So, pot size is irrelevant when you're going for potential plant. You need to give it its room to grow, essentially. So if you start in a solo cup and you veg through a solo cup and you're like, all right, I want to flip it, right? And you go put it in a 2 gallon, that thing is going to take off. It just is. It's more than 3 times the soil. That thing's going to be able to get into 3 times bigger containers it ever seen in, its biggest growth period of its entire life.
Yeah, potting's super important, especially when you're about to flip in a flower. Like we covered this last episode, so I guess like just a recap, want to give it like the most fresh, rich environment that it needs to flourish. And it will, and you'll see the results of that. If you're up potting and waiting 3-4 weeks and then flipping it, like you just lost the majority of your, you know, soil. As far as biology, nutrients, all that stuff. Now you have to supplement. Give your plant what it needs from the jump, and you'll get halfway through flower before you start hampering with your plant. It just makes it easier for you.
Right. One thing I want to bring up is like, when you're getting into pre-flower and flower with a photo, I think most people understand the training aspect and the trimming aspect and the pruning aspect when it comes to defoliation. But I think when it comes to autos, and this is reg, photo, whatever, I think that people get a little freaked out about doing defoliation, and it's not really defoliation in the way that you would think with a photo period where you're taking leaves off that are essentially just fan leaves. What you would be doing would be taking away the budlets that are starting to form that are going to be in places that are undesirable or just basically not going to get good light, or they're not going to grow. And this is where these, the pistil hairs will start to grow out and start to form a bud. And just below it is the stem. You want to just cut that stem off. It connects to the fan leaf, so it's like kind of like this. And this top one's the bud, and this is the fan leaf going down. You want to leave the fan leaf on, as these are storage places for nutrients and mobile nutrients and immobile nutrients in the plant. So these are things that the plant is going to live off of. A lot of people like to schwazz or do total defoliation on autos going into flower, and that does work too. So I know people do a little bit of both, and they start to defoliate like it is a photo period. So they're taking the whole node and the fan leaf off to a certain point, and then they're using 90-degree clips and bending it out of the way. I haven't seen too many people scrogging autos. Mostly people will top them at a young 3 to 5 node age and try to get as many tops as they can, and then give it as much light from at each node by bending it out, and just kind of let the thing do its due diligence. But this is something that I think a lot of people don't understand, is where and what to defoliate on auto. And like I said, you want to take the budlings away to give the other buds more nutrients, and the auxin growth is going to go straight to those buds, being the other ones are missing. And then those leaves that you did leave on will still allow the plant to get more photosynthesis than there are bud sites to receive it. So that's what you're trying to do with that balance there. It's like, what was that back in the day? I forget what game it was. Maybe it was Magic. You needed mana to do stuff, and you had like a number.
Speaking of foreign language.
It was in like every video game we ever played growing up in the 90s. Like you had a certain amount of energy to do something. Like in The Sims, you had like the jewel or whatever, and you had like 80 out of 80, right? So 80 out of 80. Do you understand what I'm saying or no? or
I
costs
never
you to
played
do
the Sims
something?
bid.
Never played anything. Nothing where it costs you to do something.
It costs me to do something?
All right. So forget what Matt's
Yeah,
thinking.
sure.
So if you were taking like the sense of the productivity, how much production this plant could put out, right? You'd say it's 100 out of 100, right? So it has a potential of 100 and it's working at 100. So if you don't defoliate this plant, that number is going to go over 100. So you're going to have the possibility of 140, but you're not there. You can't produce that. So now you have way more bud sites than you need, right? And you're looking for dense bud sites. So instead of letting it go over, what you do is you bring that number down to like 80 of 100. So now you have the plant power for 100%, but there's only 80% of the plant left, right? This is how we start getting into big, fat top buds. And some people take it down to 50% of the plant's total. And this is where you get, even more massive. But it takes feeding regimens, and you don't defoliate all at once. It takes a plan of understanding.
I didn't know where you were going with the video game thing.
Because in video games, when they used to do that, you'd start out and you'd have like 15 of 200, and you only use 15. And then when you upgrade your cities, or you upgrade your this, or you upgrade your that, or you do this, and like every game there was a version, you'd go from 15 to 30, and then 50, and then 100. And then eventually you'd build more, or you'd have more of something than you could handle, and then you'd have to upgrade that. That's like from video games, all growing up of my life. So I guess you didn't play any.
I didn't. I played sports like shooting games. So.
Well, there you go. There you go, man.
Wasn't really a building cities and stuff.
Well, a lot of people played all those games.
I'm sure they did.
I wasn't even a big video game nerd. I only played like 3 or 4 games, but all of the mechanics were exactly the same. You can do this much until you can do that, and you have to upgrade that to do that. It's like, it's like catch-22.
I suppose.
Right. You want a lot of buds, but you want big ones. So when you have a lot of them, you take some of the small ones away so the other ones can get even bigger. Plus, you're 100%. Taking these buds out because they're not getting light. That's going to create more growth for the other buds. I hope everybody else understood what I'm saying. They probably did, Matt. I usually just lose you on stuff like that.
Just take the bud sides off, folks.
The smaller ones. I call them budlets so that we can establish a label for these little sites, and then you'll establish a size for them. And usually they're like ring pinky size and smaller. Like, you don't want a bud that's that big, on your 3rd week at the bottom of your plant. So take them off when they're little, and, definitely don't skip that step on an auto. I see far too many people be like, I didn't want to touch it.
Speaking of plants, I have another one started.
Oh boy, what do we got now?
So me and Chelsea did the Badass Cookies OG.
Badass Cookies OG.
Yeah.
And what is that a cross of? Is it just in the name?
I don't even know right now.
That's good.
Don't even know. I couldn't tell you for the life of me. I'm way too stoned.
Did you just find a seed, or this came from a pack?
No, it came from a pack. I had a bunch of different packs, my little toolbox thing.
Let's see. Badass Cookies OG. Let's see. It boasts some dense, compact buds laden with stones of trichomes.
Stones?
This guy who wrote this must have loved it. What's the cross? I don't understand. I clicked on it to see the lineage. It's a 3-way cross of Badass, OG Kush, and Cookies. That's why I said, is it just in the name? It's 100% the name.
100%.
That's funny.
I couldn't remember for the life of me, dude.
Let's see what it says it is. I'm over 18. What? All right, 70% indica, produces high levels of resin, high percentage of terpenes, making great strain cannabis for extracts and concentrates. And its superb strain taste will have smokers coming back for more and more. More and more. It looks pretty good, man. I mean, their strain looks pretty good. It says a 60 to 7 day flower.
Yeah, that's about right.
And then in a meter squared, so that's 9 square feet, they average just over a pound, 500 grams. And then outdoors, they said they had a 300 centimeter plant with 700 grams on it.
Well,
So it didn't do much.
Big, so.
Didn't do much better outside than inside. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how long they had it outside, but like, if you get a pound inside and just over a pound,
push her to the limits, bud.
Well, you get a pound over a pound inside and just over.
And yeah, folks,
a pound and a half outside.
I mean, I like growing one plant at a time because I can grow it just as big. I could go wall to wall, be the same amount of coverage if I had 4 plants in there. You know,
right?
And I have one plant to focus on, not 6. It's just make it easy for yourselves, guys. You know, like a lot of people overcomplicate this stuff, and granted, there's a lot that goes into it, and you need to know like what you're doing and what's going on. But like, use your knowledge correctly. You know, use it in a directional path towards a goal and what you're trying to achieve. Don't compensate with your knowledge. Don't go overboard with it because work what works for you.
So I got something here I wanted to bring along.
What do you got, dude?
Got a pack here from a friend. This was given to me. Feed Me Genetics.
Feed Me Genetics?
Right. And I'm not going to say the name of the strain. I don't know why it's not.
It, dude.
I don't know why it's not focusing. Hold on. There we go. It's Chimera crossed with Envy This.
Oh.
And it's a hybrid strain. Feminized. So I'm thinking that's a good candidate for.
How many seeds?
One.
One?
It's 3. It's 3. I guess I'm going to be going to the post office with that soon. That's how it works, folks.
You'll be going to where?
I don't remember. I blacked out.
Go to the post office?
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
Oh, man.
I was just trying to get you to reiterate so that I heard correctly.
Like I said, I think I blacked out. I don't remember that.
Yeah. Great thing about YouTube is you can play the video back.
Yeah, server crashed. I don't know, man. I'm sure you're gonna acquire one of these to run.
Yeah, maybe. Is there anybody in the chat?
I don't see a single chat. No, I think we're chatless tonight. People had plans this time. Well, the cool thing is the podcast is here to listen to all the time, and having a live viewer just makes it better for us. We get to answer questions that they might have about this segment in real time for other people to hear later on. But either way, we hope we covered the bases at least for you without anybody asking questions.
Always. Didn't you have an announcement about Uncle Rick's or something?
Oh, actually, wait. Which thing?
That you
Oh,
today.
Right. So we actually just got approved for being able to have our own private groups and subscribers on Facebook, where we're going to be dropping all sorts of content that's not available anywhere else. We're going to be doing behind the scene drops, behind the scene content. We're going to be doing live stream videos and giveaways that are only for that group. And it's a great way for us to be able to actually give back to our community that's supporting us, specifically helping us bring this content to people that might have just found us tonight. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like we should have like a Beyonce spoof song, like "I'm a subscriber." Anyway, that's just my stone brain working.
I love that, dude. If we could easily do that and like not get in trouble, I would absolutely do that.
Hey, why not? It's America. Who gives a shit?
Beyonce and all her producers would give a shit. But if you are trying to help us, help support us,
with Puffy over there, they're not worried about this bullshit.
We're not even touching that one.
Touch it all day.
No pun. So if you do want to help support us and get some exclusive drops, discount codes, and be part of the inner circle grow community, and be able to ask the people that run our whole shindig questions 24/7, get one-on-one help. That sounds like something awesome for you. Definitely go on over there and check us out, and we'd be more than happy to have you there.
I mean, it's just worth it for the good stuff, you know.
Right. I mean, we do typically, you know, what's crazy is we did so much cool stuff for the past like few years, but it was all like within Facebook groups, and it wasn't really anywhere that people stayed around because they you know, you have all those people that join for like they join a grow off for like just getting cheap beans or whatever, and then they disappear. Like, remember we always have like at least 5 people that sign up, just never answer again, which is kind of funny, but then they're like, all right, they were here for the beans. So, you know, and we've done so much cool stuff for them, like, you know, and these people were just kind of taken away from what we would want to do for our members, where it actually would mean something, you know, and people would be able to
if you get a guy and like all 5 of his family members just happen to sign up for the group and enter the giveaway.
Right, right.
It's like, oh, that's my dad. Oh, my cousin won.
Oh, nice, man. You could just mail it to me.
Yeah.
That was my uncle. Like, oh, so you have 5 profiles, or your uncle's actually a real human?
But, you know, it's whatever. We don't do it for them. We do it for the people that actually care.
And if you don't follow us on Facebook, we have close to 15,000 followers, and there's still time to get into the giveaway, our 15,000 follower giveaway. There's 10 winners, and it's all awesome stuff. There's equipment, there's seeds. It's just going to be awesome. Yeah.
And like me and Eric were kind of talking about something that we used to do earlier today too. So we were pretty active on Discord back in the day. We used to play this game called Name the Stray Game, where like, dude, it was wild. Like, you know, it's a points-based system, so each question is worth so many points. First person to answer correctly, you know, would be awarded those points, and then there's first, second, and third place. At the end of the game, there's lightning rounds, there's final rounds,
prizes.
You know, so it was a lot of fun, you know.
Every Sunday.
And I kind of like want to bring that back because it was a lot of fun, and I feel like we have the ability to do that. Hopefully in the future, because I don't know, Eric. Maybe we can bring that to another platform where there's more exposure.
Well, that's the thing. We can do that in this Grow Community platform. They give us the ability on Facebook to kind of do it with the group what we would like. You can't even get in there if you're not a subscriber, so it's really pretty private for us. And we could even host live Name the Strain games where people have to, you know, answer in the chat, and we're live like we used to do, and produce it right here just like this, the same way. But you know,
Even
those
when,
things all
we
take
even went
time.
as far as to like design our own like spin-off of Jeopardy.
Oh
We had
yeah,
a,
dude.
we had a little complications with that one, but I mean,
Yeah,
if we could
Jeopardy.
figure that out, that would be fun. That'd
I
be really
fixed
fun
it.
to do.
I fixed it. It
You
just
did.
yeah, I fixed it.
There's a whole like interactive like platform. Like you have to like log into this shit, so you get like your little buzzer.
On your phone, right? You have the buzzer on the phone, so you click and it's all on the screen. It was a lot of production, and that stuff does take a lot of time, and it does take a lot of our effort, you know, to keep producing these things week after week. You know, Sundays are everyone's day off, and we literally would slave for this game. Me and Matt would go back and forth trying to figure out clues on how to hide Frisian duckfoot from you, but make you pick it out and name the parents of it. You know, who's the parent of this strain that's famously this. And we didn't make it that easy all the time. It was pretty difficult. I'll be honest. We had some where people couldn't answer them, and that's how it should be. And but that's the thing. A lot of the people in there were learning. They were having fun, engaging with their community. A lot of members met new members and learned a lot of techniques from each other. And that's really what we're about. We're about the community being able to flourish. No pun intended, but we want people to grow. And if you're not growing as a community, you know, we're not growing as a home grower community, you know, together, which we should be. People should be, you know, consulting one another, helping one another. I think it's time. As I said, I think it's time. There's fireworks.
Yeah. So like I usually like I put the fireworks on as like
At an hour.
that's Eric's cue to
Shut up.
not shut up, but wrap it up. There's sometimes these fireworks is on for like 15 minutes, bro.
I know, dude. I know.
Their effect is minimal, folks.
It's actually funny. We were on a live a few weeks ago, and we'd actually finished the live, and then Matt had told me an idea he had about incorporating something into our software of Discord, ironically, and I just rewatched the video today because I was like, "What is this? We didn't do 2 podcast recordings this day." So I look, and it's him with the fireworks in the back telling me this idea, and it's 10 minutes long. So it's like it never really ends. The fireworks are really just the good, they're goodwill, and goodwilled intentions.
What are we gonna talk about next week, dude?
Ah, man, probably flipping the flower. You know, that's where we're trying to cover all the bases. So if somebody were to ask, "Hey, what would you do like seed to harvest? What's all the stuff that you would tell me I need to know?" We're going to tell you, go check out the podcast. We'll wrap that up in the first, hopefully 10 to 15 episodes. Absolutely stay tuned for the 10th episode, because on the 10th episode, we're going to give something away in the chat to somebody, but somebody's got to be in the chat to receive it. So make sure you're here.
And that's how many episodes away? 2?
Yeah, this is episode 8. So
2 episodes away.
Right. And then we're 10 episodes deep. 10 episodes deep in our podcast, which I'm going to be very happy to celebrate, and I'm going to blow it up on Facebook. So if you're following us on Facebook, you'll definitely be aware of it. I'm going to make an event on there if you follow us, so that we can keep people informed in it. But thank you for coming out, everybody. If you're not here,
always a pleasure, folks.
If you're not here currently, thank you for listening at a later time. And remember, you could always, if you're listening to the podcast, you could always watch us live on YouTube and get a sense of, you know, what Matt's backgrounds look like, because they're always changing.
It always tells a story.
And if you want to absolutely get the most out of your garden, hit the subscribe button, and we will keep bringing you more tips every week with We'd Been There. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out. Thanks for stopping by.